welcome. This is women over 40 who want to um, reverse their age or reverse aging or increase their longevity. What I was uh, interested in seeing was that some men were messaging me and signed up that they were interested in this program. So I'm happy to have you on board. If you're interested in doing a program for men in particular, just message me privately and let me know. I would love to have partners on board for this. I did this particularly for those women, and I wanted to make somewhat of I will be making a private space for them to come in. And, women as a whole, I would say generally, we have our external beauty. And so when we start to gain weight or show wrinkles or have fatigue with our crazy schedules, a lot of women start to freak out and panic. So I'm here to say that you can reverse your age. And of course, there's not one quick fix. Um, I'm a philosopher. I'm a holistic healer. I've been an integrative, functional, what I would call lifestyle medicine doctor for over 35 years in New York City. But my primary goal has been to teach people how they can heal themselves from the inside out. So it kind of goes against the conventional medicine model, because what I believe is that we all have the power to heal, and we're not taught that. The model of modern conventional medicine is about disease. And so we learn how to avoid disease, not necessarily how to prevent disease, but then what to do after we have disease. And so it's much more of a pharmaceutical model, which there's certainly a place and a time for that, but that's not my time and place. So I am standing for holistic health, integrative health, functional medicine, and lifestyle. And we have come to know that, what goes on inside of you, I would say, is so much more important than what's going on outside of you. Because aside from the judgment of our external looks and our external physique, I think that it's something that I would call what I call mindful healing through joy and laughter. And so I'm one of those people that can stay up all night and have philosophical discussions about, matters of the universe and death and dying. And I actually started doing that at a very early age. I think I remember being 4 or 5 years old, pondering, like, what's eternity and what's the darkness of the soul? And I don't even know how I had those thoughts. I recently contributed to a book with 8 other women called Belonging: Secrets to Soothe the Soul. And my chapter is actually my childhood of having my first memory of, like, what's my purpose? Why am I here? So I was already at a very young age questioning. And so both in my personal life and my professional life, I was faced with different life challenges, health challenges. And so I've always been questioning, like, how do you regenerate? How do you revitalize? And how do you restart? And so, a big story for me professionally was when I started working in the mid 80s with people with diagnosed with HIV. And they were told that they had 3 months to live. And that was what I would call my call to action, because that thought horrified me. It's like no doctor and no person can play God. We don't know how long we have to live. And so I would say, take that information. I'm sorry that you had to hear that, but to put that on a shelf and let's get to work. And so, especially there were a lot of gastrointestinal issues with HIV and AIDS. So I got to work with, and that was my clinical nutritional background, where I would put them on fiber and protein and, be able to nutritionally reverse some of that functioning, which was actually propelling them to an early onset of death. And it wasn't just the fact that their white blood cells were at 1. I took that clinical information. I said, let's put it on a shelf, because that doesn't tell the story. Blood tests, and I love blood tests, and I recommend blood tests, and I love all kinds of testing. That's just a starting point. So the thing with reversing or regenerating at any time is like, let's see what is. And like a detective, I always ask the question, like, what the heck is going on in your life? And let's trace back your story. Let's see when you first started to feel this. Let's see when you first maybe got infected. So let's have a conversation. And oftentimes patients would say to me, excuse me, you're more like my therapist than my doctor. And I'd say, well, that's what a doctor should be. A doctor is to help you learn about your body. A doctor is here to help educate you about your body and to inspire you that the body changes. I mean, we know that red blood cells have a lifespan of 3 months. And so there's constant turnover and constant regeneration. And yet we think of ourselves as static. And, we know as women, I mean, when you're in your teens is different than 20s and different than 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s and on and on and on. And my goal now is to live to be 140. And that really is the marker. And why not? So when we start to mindfully shift what we think, shift what we're thinking, we start to regenerate in a different way. We start to remodel and have a different level of creativity about our bodies. I mean, personally, I waited to have children. And so I was on a mission, but I did have my children in my late 40s, believe it or not. Yeah. Okay. I've outed myself. However, at that time, I gave myself a birthday party and I put, welcome to my birthday party. And I put, 20 years younger. And of course, my mother said, "You're ridiculous. I mean, why would you even do something like that? Who's going to believe it?" I was like, "Well, I believe it, and that's what's important." And the truth is that every year since then, I add a year, but I, you know, subtracted 20 years. And honestly, everyone thinks that I'm 20 years younger than I actually am. So in my mind, that worked. It was a grand experiment, but I see now, I did that over 20 years ago, that, hey, that worked. That was my mind working through all of the doubters and all of the jokesters. And I would say, Mom, you should join on my program because my program works. And I encourage all of you to start with that. I mean, you want to start with a mindfulness. So the first thing in terms of regeneration or revitalizing or reversing your age, and it's not just you have to think, why do I want to reverse my age? What's it so important? Is it to be healthy so I can be healthier? I can live longer. I mean, for me, it's that I want to be around for my children. For me, I also want to be the model of healthy aging. I want to be the model for longevity. And, you have to know like what your why is. What's your why for wanting to do that, first of all? And then, you know, a few of the secrets, I would say, one of the main ones, there was um, a man named Ram Dass. Some of you may have heard him, and I think he said it in the 60s or 70s. So I am dating myself, but he wrote a book called "Be Here Now," and it was, he was a Harvard-trained MD, and he traveled to India. I think he traveled to India before he did that. I'm not quite sure of the logistics of it, but anyway, he became the voice of um, kind of yoga and Hinduism and the hippie movement, I would say, way back when. But the idea of be here now is just staying present centered, not jumping into the past and living in the past, and not jumping into the future, because nothing exists except right here, right now. And so I'm a really big proponent of stilling yourself, because when you do breathing or when you do meditation, and I've studied so many different types of meditation and so many different types of breathing, which I teach. The idea is that you still yourself and you still your mind. Now, some of you might say, you know what, I cannot meditate. My mind just goes and wanders off. And that's actually okay, because there's no perfect way to meditate. The idea is that you just sit and do it. And even if it's for 1 minute, or 20 minutes, which is ideal, 20 minutes twice a day. But even if you're just making touch with yourself. And I've come to say that it's body, heart, and soul healing. Because most of the time we're looking outside of ourselves and not within ourselves. And when we start to look within, then we can calm our breathing, we can calm our brain waves. And so the idea with meditation is that you're having a what they call a brain coherence. And when you center yourself, you're kind of calming your heart. And we know now there's something called heart coherence, because the idea is that we want to still the patterns and we want to look at the patterns that we're affecting. So that I would say is a big part of reverse aging. There is not a magic pill, and there will never be a magic pill, even though we're always looking for the magic pill. I mean, now we've got the magic pill for weight loss. And guess what? How many side effects? How many people are suffering long term because of it? All kinds of things like nausea and headache. And then when you stop taking it, you have, the counter effects of it. So there is no magic pill. There is no magic wand, but the wand becomes the way that you take your daily steps with mindfulness, with joy in your heart, with laughter. And I have to say, I mean, I'm known for inspiring laughter, and it was something that I trained myself. I wasn't born laughing. As a matter of fact, my mother told me that when I was a kid or baby, I was a sourpuss and I cried all the time. Now, I don't know why. And she didn't know why. She thought I was like, I don't know, there was something strange or weird about me. Um, but when I was young, also, I would entertain myself. And I remember sitting in a corner and coughing, just coughing until I coughed myself into hysterical laughter. And then, anytime I needed to remind myself, I could bring myself to that place again. And today, so many years later, that's part of my health model, mindful healing through joy and laughter. Because I say, if I stop laughing, you know, I don't want to say the word, but shoot me, but don't shoot me. Nobody, please don't shoot me. But I don't want to be alive if I stop laughing, because for me, that is what life is about. The inspiration of laughter, the inspiration of sharing laughter with people. And I think a lot of the issue today is that we all take ourselves too seriously. So I'm all for standing for health, because your health is your wealth, right? You can have all the money in the world. If you don't have your health, we all know, having gone through COVID for the last 2 to 3 years, we've suffered in isolation and we've suffered in the seriousness. And I would say we've been somewhat terrorized by it. And, I've been saying this for many years in terms of health and issues. We have gotten to the point where we internally get terrorized. We're terrorized watching the news. We're terrorized listening to other people. And so the remedy for all that, in reversing all that negativity, is really to stop and, as I would say, get off the wheel of life and start doing things differently. So I'm a big proponent of cleansing programs, detoxification programs safely, and, focusing on the liver, because the liver is the main detoxifying organ of the body, as well as the skin. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of the organs that help to neutralize toxins, get rid of them. And the same thing, we have toxic thoughts, we have toxic beliefs that we need to get rid of. One of the things with Louise Hay, who I studied back in the 80s, I actually met her back at the East West Bookstore on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. But, her book was You Can Heal Your Life. And she would do a meditation affirmation holding your throat. And she'd say, I'm willing to change. I'm willing to change. I'm willing to release all the places, and I've added people, places, things, and limiting beliefs that no longer serve my highest self. So that's the place that I would suggest you start, because you want to, one, identify what your aging pattern is. And we now can look at genetic and epigenetic tests. And actually, with the epigenetic tests, which I like to do, is to actually measure what your biological age is, which is the truth. What is the truth? It's all subjective, I say, but we can measure that. And then we can actually measure what your chronological age is. So if you're 50 and we say, like, 50 is the new 30 and 70 is the new 40. and 100 will be the new 70. And so that's one way that we look to reverse aging, but we can actually see what is by doing some of this testing. I have always, since I was in my 20s, taken a B complex. And I swear by B complex. And I say, I mean, it gives me more energy than the average bear, for sure. I mean, my mother used to say, you have more energy than your children. And knock on wood, I hope that that continues. I don't know. That's my reframing of my life. However, recently, in the last couple of years, I did a genetic test and I found out that I am missing a methylation gene. And so I need methylated B6, B12, and folic acid. Now, that's not always common in B complex, and I don't want to get too complex with this. However, the B complex that I've been taking, as a doctor, I try to use the highest pharmaceutical grade, is a methylated B complex, which means that even though my body wasn't converting to get an active form of B, I was taking it. And so I wasn't missing out. But I thought, isn't it fascinating? Because I've been told I look younger now by, a mentor of mine, um, uh, Dr. Bland, PhD biochemist, that he said, you look better now than you did 20 years ago, Nene. And I said, well, I don't know if that's a compliment, but I'll take it. And I said, I swear by the B complex because that has kept me young and vital and revitalized and helps me regenerate every day, no matter what goes on. So there are some nutrients that we need to take to reverse aging. There's a mindset model that we need to take to reverse aging. And there's daily practices. So the thing is, we want to establish certain patterns in our life. Like I get up every morning, I drink some water, I have some apple cider vinegar in it, a little pinch of cayenne. I've just purchased this year a far infrared sauna, and so I sweat. Heat is my thing. So I sweat for 30 minutes and it just opens up my pores. Again, remember, the skin is the largest detoxifying organ of the body. We don't think of it like that, but it is. We don't think of the skin as an organ, but it is. And so we need to kind of like get these things out. Same way the way we breathe in air and we exhale um, carbon dioxide, which is considered a toxin in our bodies. So there's so many things. I hope this gave you some things to ponder about. If you have any questions, please message me or post on my Facebook page or DM me, email me. I mean, you can find me. I'm pretty accessible. And again, all you guys out there that have listened to this to the end, let me know if you have any questions because I do want to do a workshop, particularly for men, because I think men can use some healing, heart healing in particular, through heart disease, heart conditions, as well as emotional heart healing. So as I say, ciao, ciao for now. Thanks for tuning in. And I hope to be doing more of these live events soon. Okay. Have a beautiful day. Take care.